Talk about this with Democratic Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida. She's the co-chair of the Blue Dog Coalition. That's a group of centrist Democrats. Congresswoman, good to see you again. So Speaker Pelosi just told CNN that tomorrow's vote on infrastructure could be delayed if she does not have the votes to pass it, which seems to be the situation. You've said if that happens, if she pulls the vote, it's a, quote, significant breach in trust among Democrats. Who would be committing that breach? Speaker Pelosi, the progressives, who?
As you may recall, we had a deal with Speaker Pelosi, and she put it in a statement that she would not only put the infrastructure bill up for a vote, but also rally the vote for that. And then every single Democrat in the House voted on a rules package that embodied that agreement. So we have the commitment of everybody that we are moving forward tomorrow on a vote on infrastructure. And it's so important that we do. It'd be a breach of trust with the American people. They've been waiting a long time for this investment into their roads and bridges, clean water, some climate change provisions, as well as broadband. There's so much good in this bill that it must move forward and it must have the full support. And I have no doubt that President Biden and Speaker Pelosi, with all their years working on the Hill, in the Senate and in the House, that they can get this done when they put their shoulder into this and ensure that the votes are there.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but the deal that Speaker Pelosi cut was that there would be a vote on infrastructure a few days ago, on Monday, and not only that there would be a vote, but that it would pass. So the breach has already happened. I guess the question I have is, how much longer are you willing to wait for this vote to happen on infrastructure? One of the members of the House Progressive Caucus, Congressman Pocan, yesterday told me he thinks this is going to take a couple weeks to sort out.
You know, Jake, she committed to bringing the bill up by Monday, and so she did. She committed to that. We had to debate the bill, as is normal practice in the House, but the vote really needs to take place, not just because of the commitment that she made to have the vote tomorrow, but also because our surface transportation bill runs out tomorrow, and we really cannot leave the American people without the necessary funding for infrastructure across this country. That would be a dereliction of duty.
Well, the progressives are calculating, as I don't need to tell you, but just to explain for our viewers, the progressives are calculating that this is their moment of leverage. They can force people like you and Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema and others to vote for the $3.5 trillion spending bill on social safety net programs by holding the infrastructure bill as a hostage or as a negotiating tool. You've said that you think that $3.5 trillion bill is too large. Is there a number that you're more comfortable with? 2 trillion, 1.5 trillion?
Let me first be clear that no member of my party has any leverage over my vote. My vote belongs to my constituents and to moving this country forward and what sits with my conscience. And so I have always said from the start that this was an ill-fated attempt to leverage your fellow colleagues. And no matter what happens with the infrastructure bill, that will not make me make choices that are not good for my constituents. And I have provided plenty of detail to leadership as well as the White House as to what programs I think are best suited for achieving the goals around child care and education and health care. And so it's not for me to identify a top line. It's for me to communicate what I am supportive of, and then for us to all negotiate and reconcile with other House members as well as with the Senate and come together on what programs we're going to spend on and how we're going to raise those dollars to pay for them. And that will result in a top line.
So, okay, so you're not going to give me a number, and I understand your answer, but let me ask you, if you think it's too big, which is something you have communicated, you think there's too much in there, what would you take out, theoretically? Because what I hear from progressives is Sinema, Manchin, Murphy, Gottheimer, just tell us, give us a counteroffer. What's the counteroffer? So what would you take out?
To be clear, I have provided a counteroffer, and it's not taking out anything. I think we can still achieve our goals towards childcare and education and climate change, which I think is critically important. The question is how. And so I have put forward a laundry list of the climate provisions that I am fully supportive. And oh, by the way, I have also been a huge proponent of the fact that we shouldn't have to pay for the climate provisions because CBO doesn't accurately accommodate the cost of in action. And I think that that enables us to do a lot of game-changing climate change investments. Moreover, I think that if you look even at the leadership level, there's not agreement on necessarily how we make the healthcare changes. Even the Speaker, the White House, and Senate leadership has differences on whether we should shore up the ACA or expand Medicare. And so these are all decisions that we need to make, but I don't think it's really helpful to negotiate these in the media. What I'd like to see is that we all sit down as adults in the room and talk about the various programs and how best to move forward to achieve these goals in critically important areas for American families.
What do you say to an American who's watching all this and thinks to him or herself, you know, we gave Democrats the White House, the Senate, and this is a mess. Nobody's willing to budge. Nobody's willing to compromise. I don't know that Democrats can govern. What's your response to them?
I think that it's critically important that we demonstrate to the American people that we can govern tomorrow by passing the infrastructure bill and delivering a key component of President Biden's agenda that will have immediate impacts. And I think the path to doing that is seeing leadership lean in and ensure that the votes are there. And also our allies who have a lot at stake also need to be involved. Labor. Labor represents members whose jobs will be created in the passage of this infrastructure bill. And the American people will see new jobs. They will see roads fixed. They will get clean water. All of those things will demonstrate to the American people that Democrats can govern.
Democratic Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy of Florida, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us.